win and a clean sheet. The first away win that we've had in a while. My goodness me, it's great to see that Watford got this done today at a Middlesbrough side that were challenging for the playoffs and still are challenging for the playoffs. But your Golden Boys got the job done today with, I thought, a very solid and very competent away performance. And so thank you very much, Watford supporters, for being here on this edition of Orns post-match on X and live, also on YouTube today as well. It is a pleasure to have you aboard here. My name is Omar, speaking to you directly from San Francisco, California, a long-time Watford fan, a lifelong Watford fan here as well, of course, and you are as well. So thank you for being here. Watford today coming in off of a very dodgy performance against Leeds, and Leeds are world beaters, and I had criticized the way Watford played throughout that game, for much of that game, but today Watford really did play like a team committed from minute 1 to minute 94, and Watford got it done. I'm very pleased with the way the lads performed today. One of the things I think that you've got to look at with this Watford side is that they were much more careful, much more composed, much more organized. I thought that this side had a lot more confidence going forward in the game, and I thought that there were a number of players today that made a big, big difference to us. Larousse, I thought, quietly was very good, defended very ruggedly. I felt he was very, very careful with the ball, and also you saw the likes of Loser and TDB in the midfield, much more organized, careful, dynamic play. Doumbia also up top, I thought, was very good, brought some liveliness and a good attitude. He just couldn't get the ball out of his feet on a number of occasions. But the bottom line is that Doumbia, I think, has much more of a presence to him than anyone else we've had in our front line this season. And Doumbia had to come off. I think he was subbed off at the 75th minute or so, wherever it was. But he played well. I thought Doumbia gave you something. He's 18 years of age. Young man's got a lot to learn, but he does a lot of good things for Watford, gives you some presence up front, and you can be deceived by someone like that because he's very slight looking, but he's very tough and he's very strong, and he's also very wise with what he tries to do with the ball. I thought that Watford today, if you look at the way they looked, the way they lined up, much more fluid, much more quick. They moved the ball fast. They were careful with their possession. They did something effective with their possession. How many times have we seen our lads have all this possession and do nothing good with it? Well, Watford today did a lot good with what they had and should have had 3 or 4 goals in this game, to be fair. I think if you really look at the way Watford had chances after chances after chances, Georgie had 2 in the second half in succession. We also saw Doumbia have a chance, couldn't get the ball out of his feet. Tom Ince had the biggest chance of all second half. And there were flashbacks in my mind to thinking, are we going to go through the Sunderland experience again? Because the Sunderland experience, you know it very well, about a week or so ago, we should have won the game, and we did not win that game. And I was thinking more and more with these chances, Kayembe had a couple as well, that we were looking at a Sunderland repeat. Now, Sunderland is not far away from Middlesbrough at all. They're not far away from each other. So I was thinking, is this going to be deja vu? But thankfully, it was not. And Watford fans everywhere now can celebrate this win the day after Valentine's Day with a special love for the club that we love. I thought that this was a good performance. We had not had but 1 win in our last 11 games before today. So I must say that I'm very pleased with what the lads did. I think the only thing that I would say is that our defending was a little bit risky there in the second half. You knew that Middlesbrough would come on to you as they did. You knew that very well, but I felt we dealt with it well. I think the difference is that we didn't panic. I thought that we were very well organized up and down the pitch. I thought we were organized everywhere very well. And in our defending, we knew that Middlesbrough were going to come on to us and be much more strong in the second half. And look, we dealt with it very, very well indeed. We closed down spaces. We didn't panic. We attacked the ball. I thought we defended very well. And this was, and I'm going to come to David in a moment, and this was without Pollock, who did not start this game. We had a number of players not starting because, of course, Watford played, just 3 or 4 days ago. And yet I thought the lads did very, very well with the changes in the lineup. I thought the goalkeeper was particularly good as well today. Egil Selvik, I thought, was terrific, actually. He made some very big saves for us. I'm going to come to David on X in just about 10 seconds, but I want to quickly read your comments out on YouTube. And it's good to be back here after a few weeks away, given to the very early kickoffs for the early time out here in San Francisco. Brown Electron says, get in. Dumbia was good today. So good today. Proper hold-up play. Absolutely, Brown. And Matt says, hey, Omar, come on, you Orns. Watford get the win today. But now it's over to David on X. David, thank you very much for being here. You are now on Orns Watford post-match. Hello to you, David.
Hi, Omar.
Hello there.
Yeah, I completely agree with pretty much everything you said there. But we did manage the game very well. But really, I couldn't care less how we got there. It's just such a relief and such a great feeling to win a game of football at this point. And actually, 4 points from the week that we've had in probably any championship week would be a successful one. But yeah, given what we've got and given how hard the team has had to work this week, it's an absolutely beautiful feeling. And I think we deserved it today as well. Couldn't believe just how bad Middlesbrough were. So at the start of the game, I was expecting the worst, really, expecting a pretty tough game. But then the longer it went on, they allowed us in the game, and yeah, I thought we were worthy winners.
Yeah, absolutely were. I think we definitely were. We deserved that. This is a game that we played from start to finish with really wise approaches, very sensible play, definitely great orchestration and management. And David, one of the things that I think I alluded to it earlier, but I'll say it to be even more clear this time for everybody listening and watching, is that this team did more with their possession. They were much more creative. They found ways to go forward, and they were very, I thought, quite inventive at times. They were able to make their possession mean something. When they were going forward on the ball, they looked like a genuine threat. They did move the ball around pretty well. You could tell they did a lot of things on the training ground during the week or in the few days between games. And I thought, David, that the possession was well orchestrated as well. Very, very good. There was a method to the possession. There was a creativity out there. There were some moments that I thought were good. Just the end product sometimes wasn't good. But look, the bottom line, as you pointed out, a win is a win. And you don't care how they get across the finish line as long as they get 3 points. And it's something that we've not had here for a long, long time. Watford now in the table in 10th spot. Anything else, David, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think ultimately it comes down to one man. And if we don't have Imran Loser on the pitch today, I think the whole game changes completely. He makes everyone around him better. Probably gives everyone a bit more confidence on the ball. But he just opens up the angles on the pitch, and he is absolutely flying. I think he absolutely ran the show. And as you say, it was about managing the game a lot of the time, in this one anyway, and he's completely bossed it. Anyone else in that middle of the pitch, as much as I think Deli Bashiri does help him out, and we look a lot stronger with him, it feels like a bit of a one-man band in the midfield at the minute, and he's absolutely making a massive difference. Even in the games that we've been losing, he's been creating chances, and yeah, it's an absolute testament to how he's come back in his Watford career. And if he just goes on and gets a move for the quality that he has, then we can only wish him well after sort of some tough times. But yeah, absolutely magnificent again.
David, thank you so much for your comments. Agree 100% with what you said about Luz as well. What a renaissance he has had. David, thank you so much for your comments here on Orns post-match.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Thank you, David. Once again there with his comments on X about this Watford performance today, and Imran Louza. And Imran Louza has been a revelation at this club this season. We know the discipline issues he had under Val Ismail, and he was really a Watford player in exile at Vicarage Road. He went and got traded off to Lorient on loan, disappeared. I expected we'd never see the back of him again. We'd never see him again. But he's come back this season, renewed, reinvigorated with purpose under a new manager, Tom Cleverley, of course, who, of course, was teammates with Imran Louza just a few seasons ago in the Premier League, the last time we were there. And it's just really good to see that we're getting this kind of quality in the midfield from him. Now, we do need a bit more balance in the midfield. I didn't think TDB was bad today. I thought TDB did some good things for us. I thought that his wisdom was evident in a lot of this game. One of the players I've got to talk about, and Watford fans, please follow the lead of David if you're on X right now and hit the request button and give us your thoughts about your club, the club we love, Watford Football Club, and this men's first team today. How did you look at this game? How did you see it against the Middlesbrough side that definitely was short on confidence? You could tell the effectiveness of Watford in the game. The home fans gave a really loud boo, didn't they, to the Middlesbrough team at halftime. And you knew that Middlesbrough were going to come out with something different in the second half, and their subs made a difference. But the player I want to talk about who made a difference today was the player who scored the only goal of the game, and that was Moussa Sissoko, who has had, by all accounts, a wretched season at Watford. He has been really poor. Not quite the Moussa Sissoko at all that we saw when he was here with us in the Premier League in 2021 and 2022. He had really a not great season. Let's put it nicely. But I think that he is a player who's better off the bench. But today he started. He was the captain, and I thought that he had some real purpose and drive today. Moussa, he looked like he was really up for it today. And of course, going back up to the northeast. Of course, as you know, Moussa Sissoko used to be a Newcastle United player, and so maybe that gave him a lot more of an energetic spirit out there. In fact, he had a nice little taunt for the Middlesbrough fans after he scored, because they were giving him grief throughout the first half. And then that bullet header off the Louza corner. Louza, really good set-piece corner there. Bang, right into the back of the Middlesbrough net to give Watford the 3 points. The only goal of the game, a clean sheet, very important. But Moussa Sissoko, I thought, was very good today. I have given him a lot of grief over this season, as of many other Watford supporters. And today, you've got to give him his flowers. You've got to give him his credit. He did good. He did well. I thought that his runs down the right side gave us something, gave Middlesbrough something to think about. Of course, we don't have Quadro Bar, but I thought that Moussa's experience in that position, or experience moving to that position, his experience as a footballer showed. He gave Watford a bit more of a dimension down that right side, and I thought it really set the table for what was going to come in the game. And he's well-deserved play, his good play today, earned him a goal, really good bullet header. No chance for the goalkeeper, and that's 1-0 Watford, and that's that. So Moussa had a good game, and I give him a lot of credit today. Would you call him man of the match? No, he only played one half. Who would your man of the match be today? If you're on YouTube, you can type that into the comments. If you're on X, you can type it into the comments. Or if you'd like to have a conversation and talk about Watford today, you can hit the request button on X, and let's hear what you've got to say. Come on. It's the Yellow Army Yak for a reason. Would love to hear from you all today. You got to hear from you today. Come on, we won the game today. Got to hear from you. David has done that. Would like to hear from some of you as well. If you have not had your say yet, please, you're welcome to do so here on this Orns post-match, Watford FC post-match. My name is Omar here in sunny San Francisco today. That's nice. It makes a change. The sun is actually out here, and the All-Star game, for those of you who are NBA fans, the All-Star game is here as well. All-Star weekend here in San Francisco, California, and not too far away, Chase Center. So great to see you. Great to have you aboard. I'm going to read out some more comments on YouTube. Neil Leonard says, I love you. Well, I love you too, Neil. I hope you're having a good day wherever you might be across the world after this win. Middlesbrough 0, Watford 1, the final score. Matt says, I'd put a Banquet in the mix for man of the match. He was one of our key defenders at the back today. With us not starting the game with Pollock or Sierralta, we needed someone strong at the back. That's a good call there, Matt. You know, I just did talk about who would your man of the match be? And Matt, with his comment, says James Abankwah would be in the mix for that particular honor. And I would not disagree at all. I think he's certainly somebody who you can consider. He was good, very disciplined today. You know, we've had some comments from some Watford fans in the past who are worried about a Banquet because he does become a bit over aggressive at times, or a bit too aggressive. But I actually think it's a good thing because he's a young lad. He's going to learn. He's kind of a throwback, I think, to other the old school English defending, English football in English football. And I think he's got a lot more to show. He's going to grow. He's going to learn. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, you've got to be careful. And I thought that there was much more care and discipline, let me just put it that way, from James Abankwah today. I thought he was very intelligent in the defensive choices he made, with and without the ball. Watford today, one thing they did very well from out the back was to play out from the back pretty darn well. On the road, that's not easy to do because you know that especially when you're up 1-0, you know that the home side is going to press you a whole lot more, especially in the second half of a game. And I thought Watford did really well playing from out the back with the 1-0 lead, with a Middlesbrough side pressing with 3 new subs on. You've got to give that a lot of credit. You can tell that the coaching staff and Tom Cleverley really prepared these players well for this game. There were obviously things that the Watford players and the head coach studied about Middlesbrough that gave them some really good, I think, good approaches. And it worked. Middlesbrough had played a day after Watford did in the middle of the week. And I think I forgot what their result was in their game, but they played the day, I think it was a loss, actually. They played the day after, either a loss or a draw. They played the day after Watford did against Leeds. So Watford came in with 24 hours more rest, which I think helped Watford. But even so, Watford definitely looked a little bit creaky in the second half. That's why I think Klebs was wise to sub off and start the game with different players and sub off players. I thought that Matty Pollock should probably have come on a little bit earlier than he did. But look, the bottom line is it doesn't really matter because Watford have 3 priceless points. What I'm going to do for those of you on X, thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to see if you left any comments so far, but so far there have not been any. But I want to just do this. I want to read out to you the results today in the championship, just to keep you apprised. Cardiff 1, Bristol City 1. Oxford and Portsmouth, that was a 2-0 win away for Portsmouth. That's a good win for Portsmouth. Oxford are in real trouble. Preston 0, Burnley 0. That's a good result for Preston in a Lancashire derby. Burnley, I thought Burnley were going to win the league this season. They've been so good with their defensive record, but the problem for Burnley is they just don't score any goals. So I think now Burnley, probably not going to win the league, but they have been so good defensively. Blackburn 2, Plymouth Argyle 0. Plymouth continued to get into big trouble. Of course, they did beat Liverpool in the FA Cup last Sunday, knocked them out of that. But the bottom line is Blackburn Rovers, who have won in the week at West Brom in a big game, continue to stamp out their playoff credentials as they move up some more. Blackburn 2, Plymouth 0. Hull City 1, Norwich 1. That's a good result for Hull. Of course, that lot up the road, who we play next, lost at home to Sheffield United by a score of 0-1. Sheffield United get another win away from home. And then, of course, Millwall and West Brom fought to a 1-1 draw. That's a good result also for us in that way. And Sheffield Wednesday 1, Coventry 2. That's also a good result for us, even though Sheffield United are above us and Coventry are above us. Optimally, you'd like a draw in that situation, but the bottom line is that did not happen, and Stoke beat Swansea. So Watford in the table now, for those of you watching and listening, Watford lie in 10th position on 45 points, having played 33 games, 13 wins, 6 draws, 14 defeats, a -5 goal difference. We have now won this game, our first win second win in the last 12 games we've played. We actually end a winless run that dates back several weeks now. We had lost 4 of our 5 previous games. So look, bottom line is that Watford, very important win. We leapfrog Middlesbrough, who are in 11th, and Norwich City, who are in 12th. So that was a very important win. QPR had won last night. And so Watford winning today, very, very important indeed. Now Watford 3 points off the playoffs. So again, very important win. Now Watford, of course, the next game that we will play will be against Luton Town coming up next Sunday, a week from tomorrow. That's the important one there. So look, Watford at home against that wretched lot up north, who of course are up the A25 or M25, I should say. Bottom line is that Luton are going to go down. and we need to make sure that they do go down. And if we are able to beat them on Sunday, a week from Sunday, I think we'll have a very good chance of saying bye-bye to them as far as the championship is concerned. Luton, rock bottom of it right now. Even Plymouth, Argyle, who have been awful this season, end up on the 23rd place spot in the table. They had won 2 in a row, Plymouth. In fact, they had really won 3 in a row, including the Liverpool match in the FA Cup before losing today. Luton Town lose again, as I said, at home to Sheffield United, a minus 22 goal difference. They're on 27 points. I'll never forget this. There was a Luton fan that had a go at me after Luton had beaten us back in October, that 3-0 hiding that we took at the dog patch. And he said to me, well, we're going to definitely finish higher than you in the table this season. Well, that's not happening. It's just not happening at all. So Watford need to get 3 points against Luton Town, and I hope that these players will take that game a whole lot more seriously than they did back in October. But for those of you on X, I'm going to say goodbye to you for now. Someone is asking me why I'm a Watford fan. Well, then why are you a Watford fan? Why wouldn't I be a Watford fan? I'm from Watford, mate. I'm from just 6 miles away from Watford, for that person on YouTube who's asking that question. But thanks for the question. Everybody listening, I do thank you. For those of you on X, thank you so very much indeed for your time. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. I do thank you for your time. Really do appreciate you. And always, as I always say, thank you so very much. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. The final score again, for those on X, I will continue on YouTube, but for those of you on X, thank you so very much indeed. The final score again from the Riverside today, Watford with an away win. Middlesbrough 0, Watford 1, the final score. Watford in 10th, and with an opportunity to keep going as they take on that lot up the M25 a Sunday from tomorrow. That is it for those of you on X. I want to thank you very much again. My name is Omar. And until that game, a week from Sunday, against that lot up the road, I'm Omar saying, take care and be well. Those of you on YouTube who are watching, thank you for continuing to do so. My name is Omar, as you know, and we are back here on Orns Watford FC post-match live on YouTube. And of course, in a few moments' time, we'll be going over live to Instagram to see what we can find there as far as Watford fans are concerned. Comments that you've been making, and I do appreciate the comments that you have been making. Do you think that this side played well out from the back? I think they did. As I said earlier, I think that Watford's play from out the back today was very good. And playing out from the back away from home is not the easiest thing to do. It can be quite tricky to do. And so I think that when you play out from the back, you do invite some problems and some troubles, but it also involves a lot of confidence. And if you can play with confidence out the back, it helps. And what I think, and I didn't mention this during the time that we were also on X, what I think was really key for Watford today was confidence. I think it was very noticeable, the kind of confidence that the lads had. And confidence is a very important thing in football because it's a very fragile thing. It can go from game to game. As we saw against Leeds the other day, Watford's confidence really dropped when they went 2-0 down and they began to feel sorry for themselves. What I thought you saw today was a Watford side that had a lot of energy and attitude and purpose. And I think the play that Watford showed you throughout the game was purposeful. As I said about the possession, I thought we were very purposeful today. We were very wise today. I thought we were very disciplined today with our possession. And I thought that we were very sensible with it. I had really criticized this team for its wastefulness, its profligacy in front of goal, and the wasteful approach that we had. I was very, very much, if you listened to me on X the other day, you would have heard me have a real go at Orns WFC on X. You would have heard me have a real go at our players because I just didn't think that we had the purpose out there that you need to win these games and to play well in these games. I didn't think they were ever going to beat Leeds, but I think they learned some lessons from that game, obviously, and they brought them into this game against Middlesbrough. Now, the key is to gain some consistency, which is what really hurts us. I think we just lack consistency. If we can find a way to be consistent, it will make all the difference in the world to us. And I do think that consistency means absolutely everything from a Watford perspective. And so I'm going to head off to Instagram land, and they will join us in a few short moments as well. And welcome to this edition of Orns Extra on Instagram Live of yours truly, Omar, here after Watford defeat Middlesbrough away from home by a score of 1-0. It's been a while since joining you on Instagram, but it's great to be back, and I do hope you are well. And also a very good welcome again to those of you on YouTube who continue to watch. Thank you very much indeed. The channel is at Orns WFC on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Orns WFC YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. And of course, on Instagram as well, at Orns WFC there. Please follow us there as well. It would be great to have you aboard as well. Lewis Honeysett joins us on Instagram. Hello, Lewis. Good to see you again. I bet you are buzzing after that Watford win. Tracy has joined us as well. Tracy, good to see you as well. I'm sure you also are buzzing after this Watford win today. A well-deserved win at the Riverside against this Middlesbrough club, who are sliding backwards as well. It's so interesting. Both of these teams have slid a lot in the table over the last few weeks, and it was really a battle of attrition, I think, between the two sides. Middlesbrough, a team, of course, who had played 24 hours after we last played, which meant that they were going to obviously be a bit more tired and less well rested. We had the advantage of that going into this game, and Watford, similarly, with our manager being embattled, same thing with Middlesbrough's manager. You know, Michael Carrick had been under a lot of pressure from Middlesbrough fans and a lot of pressure in general because he'd been in this losing run as well. So it was very interesting that Watford and Middlesbrough met with this kind of situation. This is Watford's first win at the Riverside since 2016, if you can believe it. It has been that long. And that would have been, I think, gosh, I can't even remember when that was. What team we had then. It might have been the game where, if I can remember, Jose Holebas scored the only goal of that game to give us a 1-0 win. It might have been then. I think that was the last time we won. We wore, and I still have the white shirt that they played in on the road. It was in 2016. It was Jose Holebas's really good rocket strike that gave Watford all 3 points that day. And this time it was a great bullet strike header from Musa Sissoko that gave us all 3 points on this day. So the first time we win at the Riverside in 9 years. Wow. Really good job there from the Golden Boys. And Elton John's Tailor-Made Army has just joined us as well. Hello to you there, Elton John's Tailor-Made Army. And that was the chant all around the Riverside in much of this game after Watford took the lead, played well, kept the ball. I thought their possession was very good. We used the possession very wisely today. I really loved the way that Larousse applied himself. I would love to know who your man of the match is. We've already had a shout for James Abankwa from Matt on YouTube. He gave us that as a mix to put in the mix for man of the match. That choice, I think, is a good one. And I would put James Abankwa in the mix as well. I'd put the goalkeeper in there. I thought Selvik was really good as well today. Imran Louza has to be considered as well. He got the assist for the goal from Musa Sissoko. I thought Sissoko played very well also today. Would he be man of the match, though? He only played one half. But as much as I've criticized Musa Sissoko this season, as much as many of you have as well, I thought he did very well today. Really brought a lot more energy and spirit than he had in a number of games. Osmond 2001 has joined us as well. Osmond, hello to you. It's great to see you all on Instagram as well. Of course, it's been a few weeks. The early morning kickoffs were really early. Not that I couldn't do the Instagram, but I would have to speak a whole lot quieter than I'm speaking now. And that's really not that much fun if you're watching on Instagram. So no, I couldn't do the Instagrams when you got these early morning kickoffs. I think there's actually an early afternoon kickoff, I should say, early afternoon kickoff I think there's another early afternoon kickoff next time around against that lot up the road a week from tomorrow. So I think that I don't know if I'll be able to do Instagram post match, but definitely. I can tell you if you're watching on X or listening on X, I can say that you'll be able to hear me post match there. And, we'll see how things go as far as YouTube goes as well. So it's great to see you all. I would have a number of other players to add to the mix as a man of the match candidates. One of them, as I said, would be the goalkeeper. I do think Larousse was very good as well today. Larousse needs to be getting a lot of credit today because he defended very wisely, very well, very, very good defending. He was good going forward for much of the first half as well. We didn't get much end product wise, but the thing is that I thought Larousse set the tone today. I thought that he set the tone because he was much more purposeful and busy. And one of my criticisms after the Leeds game was our failure to really attack Leeds at all. We kind of gave them way too much respect. We sat off of them too much. We didn't really attack Leeds. We didn't really go at them. And I thought today the difference is that we went at Middlesbrough. We were much more determined. We were much more aggressive against Middlesbrough, and we were willing to take those chances with crosses in the box. Now, some of them didn't go to the intended target. Some of them didn't to really make the impact. But the bottom line is that we tried and we applied ourselves and we had a go. And we definitely put the goalkeeper under pressure at various parts and various points of this match. And I think that that's a very effective thing to be able to do when you're dealing with a side like Middlesbrough. The Riverside is a tricky place to come to. And this is a very important thing. I just really do believe that the more that you attack a team, yes, it leaves you open at the back. Yes, it does. But the more you attack a team, the more chances you create for yourself. And one of the things that possession really deceives you from is the idea that you're creating chances. Because if you've never watched this game, if you never watched the game today, or rather, if you never watched the Leeds game, you would have probably said, wait a minute, Watford has 60% possession against Leeds. How come they lost 4-0? Well, because Watford didn't do good things with their possession at all, and Leeds were very good. And so top of the table, very good. So, those things figure in to the calculus here. And it's very, very important to emphasize that. Very important to emphasize that. I do want to just read some of your comments out on YouTube. Max says it's okay. I thought you were in San Francisco. Just wanted to know. Okay, Max, understood. All is well here. No problem. When you're reading these things off of it's just a thing. I just want to just say this as well. When you're reading comments, you don't know what's behind the comment. And that's why sometimes when you speak, when it's helpful when we speak to each other, it's different, right? You can tell what the feeling is behind the question. So when you read a question that says what it said, I kind of looked at that and I was like, well, what do you mean? But I do appreciate you, Max, saying that you just wanted to know, and it wasn't something any more than that. So no problem. And again, just to remind everybody, and I think everybody knows, there are Watford fans all over the world. Some of them have never maybe ever been to Watford. Some of them weren't born in or around Watford like I was, and raised there. People are surprised to know this, but Watford fans, and I'm not saying you, Max, but I'm just saying in general, Watford fans exist all over this globe. I've traveled to several places in different countries, and I've worn my Watford shirt, and people have recognized that, and they've said, yeah, I support them. So, we are everywhere. We really are all over the world. There's supporters groups all over the world as well, as I'm sure Watford fans know. Max, so no problem, Max. No problem at all there as far as that's concerned. Matt has said, Omar, here's a question for you. Bio finishes his 3-game match ban after his red card, so we'll be back for the game Sunday. Would you want him straight back into the lineup or keep Doumbia in the lineup? Would you want him straight back into the team or keep Doumbia in the lineup? The answer is I'd keep Doumbia in the lineup. I think that Bio has to sit. You can't just come straight back into the side to start up top, even against this lot up the road. Bio will have to just sit on the sideline, watch Doumbia, see what's going on, and then you bring him in second half. I think that Doumbia earns the start for the game against Luton Town. He was very good again today, Doumbia. I think people can get fooled by Doumbia because he's such a slight-looking figure. He doesn't, when you look at him, you say, well, geez, physically he's not very imposing for a striker. But the striker game has changed these days. You don't have to be that physical traditional striker anymore, because we don't have that really in the English game. It's a very different game these days. You've got wing play, you've got the forward play that plays a bigger role, I think, arguably than the actual striker does. But yes, to answer your question, Matt, absolutely, Doumbia has to start a week from Sunday against this lot up the road, and Bio will have to sit. He just has to sit. Even though he scored 10 goals this season, he has to sit. Simple as. Joe G's has joined us. Hello there, Joe G's. He says hi. Hello, Joe. Good to see you. And here's another Joe. Joe Larkin has joined us as well. Joe says, Joe Larkin, that is, Orns. Finally a win. A win, Joe Larkin. That is the refrain today on Instagram and everywhere else. Thank you very much indeed, Joe's both, for chiming in there on Instagram. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to Orns Watford FC post-match on YouTube and Orns Extra on Instagram Live. A pleasure indeed to have you, especially after a Middlesbrough 0, Watford 1 scoreline. I must say, very, very pleased with Watford's performance and the 3 points. And by the way, Matt on YouTube, thank you for reminding us that the game is on Sunday, 12 lunchtime kickoff. Thank you very much for that, Matt. That's the game he's referring to there, Matt, against that lot up the road, who lost again today. Ha 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 ha. Let's continue that, shall we, a week from tomorrow, as they are rock bottom of this division on 27 points, going nowhere fast, but down to League One. Wouldn't you just love that? Even if Watford don't make the playoffs this season, and I don't think Watford will. I picked them to finish 8th before the season started. They're in 10th now. I think the playoffs have gone for Watford. But can you imagine we knock this lot down a week from tomorrow, and then at the end of the season, they're down to League One? Even if we don't make the playoffs, that would be so sweet, wouldn't it? Just imagine that. But first things first, a week from tomorrow, we've got to dust this lot off and teach them a lesson. Teach them not to be so arrogant, and teach them that they're the little club. L for little. That's what we have to put on them next week. L for a defeat, for a loss. That's what we've got to put on that lot up the road. L is for defeat. L is for loss. That is what I'm looking at. We've got to beat them next weekend. I don't care what anybody says. You can't go into the game against Middlesbrough, take 3 points from them, and then lose at home to Luton. We have to win that game. Really, in some ways, I hate to put it like this, you almost have to forget about what we did here today, and don't get too confident because you've gone into Middlesbrough. Next week's game is unique. Next week's game, if I was Tom Cleverley right now, if I was the manager, I'd be telling this lot that next weekend is a cup final. This ain't about playoffs. This ain't about the game that you played against Middlesbrough. This game here is a cup final. And you got to treat it that way. And you got to play that game as if it is your life on the line. I don't know if that would get through to some of these players, but we have to absolutely hammer them next week. A 1-0, I'll take it. If we get past them 1-0, I'll take it. But we need a 3-4, 5-0, 5-1 hammering of this lot. We need to really teach them a lesson. Don't get too big for your boots. You're in the Premier League. You crashed and burned there, and now you're crashing and burning in the Championship. We need to really, really let them know who the club is around here that counts. So we'll see if we can get that done. Dan Atkins, hello to you on YouTube. Excuse me, not YouTube. You're on YouTube. You're on Instagram, Dan. Thank you very much. You Orns, says Dan. Roll on Derby Day, says Dan Atkins. Absolutely, Dan. I am really, really looking up for this game now because these lads, they've lost 5 consecutive games at the Vic. We cannot afford to make it 6. A draw ain't going to do us anything either. We need to beat this lot. This lot are rock bottom. They've lost 19 games in the Champions. This lot's lost 19 games. 19. We have to smash them. I totally agree with Joe Larkin. We have to batter Luton Sunday, Joe Larkin on Instagram says, especially after that 3-0 earlier on the season. 100%. Joe Larkin is 100% right. We have to absolutely batter that lot. And no mercy. And I don't care what the score, we have to beat them. Look, if it's a 1-0, fine. We cannot lose this game next weekend. And I don't even want to put it like that. We have to win this game and win it emphatically. The way that Leeds dealt with us and the way Leeds handled us, we need to handle Luton the same way that Leeds handled us. That's what we need to do. We lost 4-0 to Leeds. Let's beat Luton 4-0. Let's turn that around and beat them. We need to beat this lot. There's just no other way around it. 1-0 to me, yes, we get the win, but we need to beat them badly. We totally do. Teach that lot a lesson. They're horrible. They've shipped 52 goals this season. 52 goals. I mean, we've shipped 48. So look, but still, we have to beat this lot. And I'm going to say it again and again. Don't get too excited about the middle. This is for the Watford players, not for us, because we're happy, obviously, today. But I'd be telling these players next week and in training all week, don't get excited because you beat Middlesbrough. The game you want to win is this game here. Listen, looky here. This is the cup final. You've got to win the game. I mean, you really do. If Klebs does this right, and I think he will, he is going to have to really make this game, as I said earlier, a unique game. You have to isolate this game from the rest of the season. Forget playoffs, as I said. Forget where you are on the table. This means everything here. And you have to understand that the fan base will want nothing less from you than your 110% best. This has to be the game where you play your best football of the season. I mean, really, if I'm Klebs, I would be drilling that into them. We didn't want the game. And I'm going to read comments from Tracy because she's talking about this as well. It's all about, says Tracy on Instagram. Hello again, Tracy. Thank you very much for your comments. Tracy says the following. It's all about who wants it more. The last game, we did not show that. That's why they beat us. Tracy, I am 110% in agreement with you. This lot, we just did not want it as much. And we didn't have an edge to us that day. And you remember the game, Tracy. And I remember it like it was yesterday as well. We wore the black kits, which we've not won in at all this season. We had a point in our purple kits, but I think we've lost every single game we played in our black kits. They're nice kits, but the lads just don't wear them well on the pitch, do they? And we wore our black kits that day, Tracy. I think you remember this as well. We just did not look good. And I'm not talking about because we were wearing the black kits. We just didn't look good as a team. We got out hustled to every ball. They were quicker to the ball. They were much more aggressive than we were. And as you said, Tracy, they wanted it more. They absolutely wanted it more than us. And I don't think these players took the game very seriously against Luton. They thought they could rock up to the doggy and just win at the game. I'm sorry, you can't. Them fans up there, they wanted nothing less than the performance that they got. And Luton, I hate to say this, they were very good in that game. They bossed us about. They made us their little, for lack of a better word, little lapdog in the kennel. Well, that's exactly what you'd expect. And they treated us that way, and we accepted that treatment. And so I think, Tracy, your point, I agree with you 100%, 110%. It's all about who wants it more. And what Tracy said there is what Klebs has to put into these lads as well. It's all about who wants it more. You got embarrassed back in October, 3-0. Embarrassed, right? So now you have to repay this lot. And you have to play that game differently than the way you played the game against Middlesbrough, differently from the way you played the game against Derby when you beat them, differently from the way you played the game against Sunderland. You've got to play this game as a cup final. And so I hope they do, Tracy. I hope that they do approach this game and understand the magnitude of it. And Tracy's just added this comment. Like you say, the players have got to understand what it means to us as fans. Yeah. Tracy, yeah. I mean, this is critical. If these players want a good relationship with the fan base, if these players that we love and sometimes curse and swear at, and we get frustrated with these players, and we love these lads, we cheer for these lads, we really love these lads. And if these lads love us as a fan base, Tracy, they are going to have to understand how much it means. And I think Tom Cleverley being the head coach is very important in that way. And I'm speaking to everyone now about this because as a lad who's played for them as he has on two different tours of duty, a lad who's from the UK, as Tom Cleverley is, he has to convey that Watford history, and he has to convey the nature of that rivalry between these two fan bases and between these two clubs. And I'm sure he will do that. And I'm sure that these lads will have learnt the lesson from October. And I would bet that they're going to play a whole lot better in the game next Sunday, a week from tomorrow, than they did back in October. That this fan base has to put it this way. Klebs has got to convey how much this means to the fans. It's just so important. And that's why I've kind of almost forgotten the Middlesbrough game. If this game that we're playing a week from tomorrow came a month from now, I'd still be talking endlessly. I'd be talking endlessly about Middlesbrough and Watford winning the game there. But this is a very good win, and we've got to savor this win today against Middlesbrough because it's a good win. It's an away win. It's a clean sheet win. It's our first clean sheet of this year. Would you believe? New year, and our first clean sheet comes the day after Valentine's Day. We are in the middle of February, the second half of the month already, and we finally get our first clean sheet this whole calendar year. Let's hope that we can build some confidence from that, and let's savor this win. But I'm sorry, I'm already looking ahead. I'm already looking ahead. I'm sorry, I'm already looking ahead to a week from tomorrow because it means everything. And as I've said, and as Tracy said on Instagram, and I'll read out any comments you've made on YouTube in a moment, this game a week from Sunday is everything. And frankly, if we go and lay an egg and stink up the joint a week from tomorrow, the game against Middlesbrough is not going to mean a darn thing. It really won't. And I can only hope that these lads are aware of this. I can only hope that Clevs drills it into them. And I can only hope that they respond. Because we've not played well at home lately. I think we've really reverted to where we were last season at home, where we were expecting to lose every home game. 5 home defeats in a row. That's our longest stretch, I think, since at least a year plus ago. More than a year ago, because it was since March that we had the unbeaten run. We went from March through December of last year without losing at the Vic. And of course, we had 2 months off in the off season. But the point being is that in 17 games at the Vic, we went unbeaten. We need to start a new streak like that. We need to start that again. We're in a good position. I still don't think we're making the playoffs, but we're in a very good position still. 3 points away. We've got about 5 teams to worry about ahead of us. That would include, 4 teams at the moment to worry about. Coventry now are knocking on the door of the playoffs. Frank Lampard. Coventry are one to watch. That's a problem. They've won 5 of their last 6. 2 in a row and 5 of their last 6. They had won 3 consecutive. And now they've won 5 of their last 6. Coventry are very, very dangerous. I would definitely look at them as a threat. They're on 47. They're knocking on the door. They're a point behind West Brom for that last playoff place. Very, very important there. If you're looking at the likes of other teams, Bristol City took a draw today. Bristol City, they're on 46 in 7th place, 8th place. And then Wednesday, Sheffield Wednesday, they lost today at home to Coventry. There we go. So they're on 45. And their goal difference is only better than us by 1. So we can target Sheffield Wednesday. They're on -4 goal difference. We are -5. And Joe asks, well, who do we have after Luton? I'll tell you, Joe, after Luton Town, we then play against Stoke City away on March the 1st. So, and Tracy's just repeated that as well. So, Joe, thank you for the question. And Tracy, also thank you for giving the answer as well. So Stoke and Watford, March the 1st. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday. And if you look at Stoke, Joe is talking about 2 very winnable games. They are, and I agree, but you know what happens with us and winnable games. Sorry to put cold water on your aspirations, Joe. I would like to think, and I do agree with you, that they are 2 very winnable games. But as you know very well, Joe, and as everyone watching and listening knows very well, Watford and winnable games aren't necessarily a good relationship. We've just come off of Valentine's Day, for those of you who observe Valentine's Day. And Watford and winnable games, they don't send each other Valentine's cards. They don't take each other out to dinner. Watford and very winnable games do not take each other out to dinner. Do not take each other out to a show. Do not take each other out to the symphony, or to a jazz set, or to a sporting event. They don't have that kind of relationship. Speaking of Valentine's, but the bottom line. But no, Joe, I agree with you. I think the fan base, we as a fan base, are going to be looking down the road a lot more than the players are, and a lot more than Tom Cleverley will allow them to. And so, yes, the average Watford player is going to be focused on the next game. The average Watford fan is going to focus on the next game, and also going to be looking at the next few games after that, because we do have still in with a shout of playoffs. And it does require putting together a run. The question is, do Watford have that in them in these final 13 games? Because that's what it is now. Unlucky for some, 13 is the number. But we have 13 more games this season. Can Watford put together a run? Well, from the first 2/3 of the season, they've not done that. We're more than 2/3 into the season, and Watford have not been consistent at all. We've been losing consistently. That's the only consistency we've had of late. But can Watford put together a run? Can they do that? It remains to be seen. Stoke, well, where are Stoke in the table? Stoke are right there in the bottom area, or thereabouts. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. You just don't know which Watford sides are going to show up. I'm going to read out your comments. I should get the position of where Stoke City are on the table. If you just allow me a second to do that. Stoke are 19th in the table on 35 points. That is where they are, just for your knowledge. We've not done it well. One other thing for what Joe Larkin said on Instagram, we haven't done well in winnable games. We lost. We drew against Plymouth, drew against Hull. That was a winnable game in our purple kits. Didn't win that game. We were losing that game very late before Rocco Vata saved us. A winnable game. Well, we didn't win a game against Plymouth. Conceded that goal late. Didn't win either of the games against Preston. Lost both of them. Didn't win the game against QPR at the time, although QPR, when they were near the bottom of the table, and I'm talking about the game of the Vic, not the New Year's Day game. I'm talking the game of the Vic, back at the very end of November of last year. I was telling people here as well, don't underestimate QPR. They may be in the bottom 2, but they aren't as bad as that. And now look where QPR are. So they're just a point behind us. And they are literally 11th or 12th in the table, so, or thereabouts. So look, we've had a lot of winnable games this season that we didn't win. Right? We've had a lot of winnable games that we did not win. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me read out your comments on YouTube because I've been neglecting you in YouTube land, and my apologies for doing so. Here's what fellow Watford supporters are saying on YouTube. For those of you on Instagram, hope you listen to hope you can hear this. And thank you for your patience, fellow YouTubers and Watford fans, as I read out your comments. The whole team, says Brown Electrons, put in work today. Thank you, Brown. Thank you for your patience with your comment. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, they did, didn't they, Brown? They put in a real shift today. What you saw today, Brown, that you didn't see against Leeds was teamwork and cohesiveness. They played together as a team. Against Leeds, I thought the second half in particular, we played very individualistic football. We were trying to make things happen on our own. We had already been down 3-0 at half, and I thought we were trying to be very individualized. We were trying to make things happen individually, and that's usually not the way to get back into the game, especially in against this lot, Leeds United. Very, very good team, very strong team. We just needed to be sticking together, but we didn't stick together as a team. We played some very individualistic football in the second half of the game against Leeds. At least I felt that way about it. But today, as you quite rightly say, Brown, we were much more cohesive, much more together. We defended together. I thought we moved the ball very well. I thought we made some wise choices for the most part going forward. Our end product still is an issue. Look, we don't have a lot of quality on this team. It's a very thin squad, as I've always said, as you, of course, have also said for a long time, because it simply is. And we're not getting the backing from the owner. The manager's not getting the backing from the owner. But I thought today Watford did really well. And I think cleverly, if Clevs continues to get performances like these and they're able to, let me just say this. I'm not even going to say if. At the end of the season, I think Tom Cleverley deserves another season. I want to know from everybody here what you think about that. Sight unseen. We have not seen what the next 13 games are going to look like yet. We've not experienced them. But sight unseen, do you think Cleverley deserves another season here at the Vic? Do you think so? Do you think he deserves another season after this one is over? Right now, sight unseen. I want your comments. I'll read them all out. But Brown, I agree. The whole team put in the work today, and it showed. Matt says, let's send them home packing. He's talking about that lot up the road. They're packing their bags ready for League One on Sunday. And he has a big smile, big laughing emoji there from Matt on YouTube. Thank you, Matt, for that comment. Let's send that lot packing down to League One. It'd be really great, wouldn't it? Oh, great. Richard Lees. Hello, Richard. He says the following afternoon, Omar, I agree with you, Omar. Big one next week. Big win for Watford today. Yep. Succinctly put there, Richard. Thank you for your comment. This was a really good win today against Middlesbrough. I don't want to completely overshadow the Middlesbrough game. We've already talked about it a bit here. On X, we did that as well. And we've got to savor this win. But as you said, Richard, massive one next week. This win today don't mean nothing if we don't go follow that up with a win against this lot up the road. We have to knock this lot out the box next week, a week from tomorrow. Simple as. You can't go into that game and lay an egg. The only thing I'm concerned about next week, though, Richard, is the 12 o'clock kickoff or the 12:30 kickoff or whatever the actual kickoff is. And I think Matt talked about it earlier. That's the one thing I am concerned about. These early kickoffs. Watford have been very indifferent in a lot of these early kickoffs. And I'm just wondering, 12 o'clock, and it is high noon. It is 12 o'clock. Thank you, Matt. You did say that before. I'm a little bit concerned about the early kickoff and how that's going to affect us. Will we be focused enough? Because we've got a lot of time now between this game, between the game today that we just played and that game next Sunday, a week from tomorrow. Is that going to affect us? That's the only thing I'd worry about. Now, the good thing is we're going to get back Bio. He's not going to start, I don't think, and I don't think he should start. Doumbia has got a nice little run here, and I think Doumbia needs to continue to start the games. But yeah, next week, I think most of the fan base now, Richard, and I hope you may still be watching. If you are, thank you so much for doing so. If not, thank you for the comment anyway. Most of this fan base now, I think, is turning its attention to Luton. I've not looked at a lot of the social media comments yet before doing these fora today, but I will be. And I suspect that I'm going to be seeing a lot of people go and roll on now, bring on Luton, bring on that lot. They won't be calling them Luton. They'll be calling them something else. I'm tempted to call them that too, but for the sake of this, I'm going to keep the comments um, rated PG, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think most of this fan base now is looking ahead, and why not? And it should, because this game next week is everything. And Richard got to get that game next week. Ryan says this: "Good evening, Omar. I am very pleased with this win. Come on, you Orns. On to them lot up the road next Sunday lunchtime." Absolutely, Ryan. As you quite rightly point out, we're very pleased with the win. We can't diminish that. It's a great win to go into Middlesbrough, hold them scoreless like we did, play well like we did as well. Goalkeeper was really good today, Selvik. I think Selvik, God, it's so close for me with all these players. I'm going to say Selvik's the man of the match because he just made some very key moments count. And don't forget, Middlesbrough were coming at us like gangbusters. That 20-minute period was critical because we were a little bit shaky defensively. I think we defended doggedly, made a couple of mistakes. We dug in there well against 3 subs that were really giving them a lot of life coming at us. And I really thought that Selvik in those moments was very good. He got his angles correct. So he's my pick. The Orns man of the match is Egil Selvik, the goalkeeper for Watford. That's my vote for man of the match. What's yours? I know that people have said Imran Loser. I've seen James Abankwa. Imran Loser, someone, I think it was David on X who said that. And Matt on YouTube said Abankwa should be in the mix for man of the match. So those are the calls that have been made so far. And for me, the Orns man of the match, the Orns Watford FC man of the match is Egil Selvik, the Watford goalkeeper. I thought he made some really good saves. He did have one mistake that he made when he was trying to come out of his goal and he kicked the ball forward and he was trying to clear it. You may remember that in the second half, put under a little bit of pressure. His punch outs were correct. There was one moment that was really nervy when he just punched the ball just past the Middlesbrough player. We've seen so many goalkeepers punch the ball right into the direction or parry the ball right into the path of an opposing player who just taps the ball into the back of the net. Thankfully, that punch, he measured it just enough and it just went past the oncoming Middlesbrough player. That was the save of the game, a very big one. So I think for me, it's going to be the goalkeeper of man of the match. Who is your man of the match? I'll read out your comments. Brown Electron says, keep Tom, of course. And that is a very clear shout from Brown Electrons. I agree with you, Brown. He's got to stay. I did ask a few minutes ago, for those of you just coming in on Instagram or YouTube, sight unseen. We've not seen what these next 13 games are going to be or what they look like, what the results are, obviously. But sight unseen, are you keeping Tom for another season? Because I emphatically am saying yes to that. Brown Electrons on YouTube is also saying that. I want your comments too, as far as that question is concerned. And who is your man of the match today? We're also looking ahead, of course, to Luton Town. Oh my God, I mentioned their name. We're looking ahead to that lot, bottom of the lot. They're bottom of the pile. They really are dog's dinner, and they are bottom, rock bottom of the championship. We're looking forward to that game next weekend. Let's hope that Watford, who struggle against teams at the bottom of the table, as we've seen this season. Let's hope that Watford forget that Luton are at the bottom of the table and pretend that Luton are actually at the other end of the table, at the top of it. Maybe they'll give a better account of themselves. So I think, again, you've got to throw everything out the window next weekend, and you've got to forget the Middlesbrough game. You've got to forget the clean sheet. You've got to look at this game, as I said earlier, to those of you who are now just coming in to watch this on YouTube or on Instagram. You've got to pretend that this game is a completely different game, isolated from the whole rest of the season. It's a unique game, and you have to really look at the game very differently than you do the other 44 games, because they play this lot twice a season. So forget the other 44 games. These 2 games you play against Luton are everything. We messed up the last one. We were awful in it. Forget that one. You throw that out the window, and you now focus on this one game against them this time around, a week from tomorrow, against this hated lot up the road. Now, thank you again for your comments. I'll continue to read them out on Instagram. I'll get to you in just a few moments. I've got to read out these YouTube comments. That's for cleverly, not ints. Ha ha ha, says Brown Electrons, who said, keep Tom, of course. That's for cleverly, not ints. Yeah, Tom Ince today had a golden opportunity, didn't he, Brown? Should have scored in that second half. He tried to be too cute with the chip. When really what he should have done is take the touch past the goalkeeper who'd come way off his line. I thought the goalkeeper was bailed out by Tom because Tom Ince should have taken the touch past the goalkeeper. And if he could have taken a touch around the goalkeeper, I think he could have still slotted it in from what would have been a narrow angle. But I thought that Tom Ince has got to score there. He was put clean through by Georgie, and all of a sudden he's one-on-one. And what does he do? He tries to get fancy, where taking a simple touch past the goalkeeper would have been easier because the goalkeeper was well off his line. He was marooned off his line. There's no way he's doing anything with that ball. Once you take a touch past him, you got him. Assumedly, you'd get past him and get around him and slot the ball home. Now, the Tom Ince from about 10 years ago would have done that. But the Tom Ince of today, not the same man that he was 10 years ago when he was pulling up trees with goals all over the place. And as a result, he chipped the ball. Goalkeeper said, thank you very much. Block, took it out of the air like he was dunking for the ball in the NBA. Because here in San Francisco today, as you might know if you're an NBA fan, we've got All-Star Weekend. The world's best basketball players have descended upon this city of San Francisco. And so I'm going to see if I can try to even get in to watch the All-Star game. God, the tickets are really off the roof in terms of the prices. But look, I mean, it's worth it, I think. Certainly tonight, they've got the skills contest, the dunk contest, and the three-point shot contest as well. But anyway, that's a whole nother sport. But the bottom line is that I totally agree. Tom Ince, not the man he used to be, Brown. I thought that him coming on wasn't a bad play by Clevs, but you know, when you have a chance like that, you got to bury him. How many chances did we have today? We had so many chances today. And Jimmy Jams, thank you very much for coming aboard on Instagram. I will read your comments out, I promise. I would keep Clebs for next season, says Richard Lees on YouTube. Hopefully midday kickoff, we'll be ready from the start. That is my concern, Richard, as I was talking earlier to you about that. But thank you. I do hope that I do share your hope as well, that we do get locked in from the start. Very, very important with an early afternoon kickoff like that. That's a high noon. Ain't even 12:30. It's high noon. This lot have got to be ready. And I think Clebs and the lads and the coaching staff will have these lads ready, Richard. But we'll see, because Watford don't start games well at the Vic anymore, do they? Even when we were winning at the Vic, we weren't starting the games particularly well. And we started this game okay. It is all about the starts. You know, we started this game today pretty okay. We weren't bad. We absorbed their pressure. We absorbed the pressure, especially in the second half, pretty well. But for me, again, Egil Selvik is your man of the match. Made some critical saves in that 20-minute stretch. And notice that what Watford did after that, they weathered the storm, they suffered, and they suffered together as a team. They defended well, and then they began to make themselves heard from again going forward. That's the most, I'll tell you, this is why I give Selvik the man of the match, because that 20-minute stretch was actually the most important part of the match for me, because you knew that Middlesbrough were going to come at you. And the test was, after enjoying all the control in the game we did, was to say, how are you going to deal with these questions that Middlesbrough are going to be asking of you when they bring men forward? And they did, and we answered those questions very well, and Selvik was a real heart of that. How many big saves did he make in that 20-minute stretch? That's why he's my man of the match today. But your one's man of the match, I'll repeat it yet again, is Egil Selvik, the goalkeeper for Watford, who's come in on loan from Udinese without kicking a ball there. But he has quietly done some decent things for Watford, particularly today. I say that specifically today in the game today. Now, Richard says, went to the under-18s cup match against Spurs. Some great talent coming through. Great 4-2 win, says Richard Lees on YouTube. I'm glad you mentioned the academy lads. Thank you for that, the under-18 lads. They did a very good job that game. I'm glad you mentioned them. And I'm going to start to talk about the academy a bit more on some of these post-matches, and also on the Orns podcast as well, which is available on Apple and Spotify. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the Orns WFC YouTube channel. Please do. If you haven't already, like the video. Please do if you haven't already. And of course, follow on X at Orns WFC, as well as on Instagram at Orns WFC. Richard, that was a very good performance. And the lad who scored the goal there, I think he scored a couple of goals. He was terrific. They look really good. There are some players coming out of there that I'm very optimistic about that. Once we start to continue to develop these players, I think the academy is one of the really good things about Watford. I mean, there's lots of good things about this club that Gino hasn't messed up. One of them is the academy. The academy looked very promising, Richard, and I'm glad you mentioned them. And that was a very good win against a Category A Spurs side. Don't forget, they're a better side, Category A side. That's a good win for us in that Youth Cup and that under-18s. That was a good job. We advanced to the next round there, 4-2 win. It was a very good performance from the lads that day. We had a total of 14 shots and 6 on target, said Matt. Thank you for that. Bio could learn a few things about hold-up play from Doumbia there, says Brown on YouTube. Yeah, he could. And I think Bio can hold the ball up well. What he tends to do is hold up the ball better on the wings than he does in the middle of the pitch. What Doumbia does is he holds up the ball well everywhere. And I think, Bio could learn from an 18-year-old. Bio is a good hold-up player, but he does it a lot of the times. I notice he does it on the wings of the pitch, not necessarily in the middle of the pitch. But still, I don't want to take away anything from Bio. He made a big mistake there a few weeks ago. Certainly deserved to be sent off in my view, even though some Watford fans have disagreed with that point that I've made in the past and others have made about Bio. I'm a big fan of Bio's. I think he's had a decent season. His work rate continues to be excellent. His goal rate better, but it needs to be a lot better, quite frankly. He had scored 10 goals in 26 games, I think, for Watford, or just about, and he missed, I think, 3 of those 26. I think that's a pretty good return, but we need him to score more goals, and we need a stronger presence up front in general, and Doumbia has proven to be a stronger presence up front than Bio has. You can get isolated as a striker. A lot of times you can get very isolated, and it does count to have good service. It helps. But when you are isolated, if you can make your movement count for something, and if you can move into space, and if you can bother these defenders, that counts for something. And I think Doumbia bothers defenders because of his length, because of his quickness. He bothers defenders in a way that I think Bio doesn't. It's not that Bio doesn't offer good movement. He does offer a lot of good running, but I don't think he antagonizes defenders the way that I think Doumbia does. Doumbia is 18. He's got a lot more to learn. I think he's a good player. People are deceived by his slightness. He's not bulky as a striker, but he is really effective on the ball. I think the one thing for him today, there was a good chance laid on to him by Georgie, I think it was, or Loser, whichever one. He just couldn't get the ball out of his feet. And otherwise, if he could have got the ball out of his feet or got his footwork correct, he would have scored. I think he's got a good eye for goal. He's a busy player. He works hard on and off the ball. Bio does as well, but I think Doumbia offers you a little bit more. He knows how to attack defenders, and we don't really have a striker who knows how to do that. Bio's done it on occasion. He's done it on occasion. In the Sheffield Wednesday game, he got a goal like that. The goalkeeper, he pressed the goalkeeper kicked it at him, and I think it rebounded straight into the back of the net. I think that was one of his goals, either in that game or in another game. Could have been another game where he got a goal like that. But I think Doumbia just looks livelier, doesn't he? He looks like he's got something about him. So, we'll see how that shakes out. I'm going to get back to your comments on Instagram. Thank you. Tracy says Luton play Wednesday. Will we get the time to prepare for the Derby game? That's a very important point. Tracy, I was not aware of that. Thank you, Tracy, for saying that, because the fact that Luton do play in midweek does offer us something because it gives us more time to prepare. I'm sure there'll be people, scouts, whether it's Cleverly or some other person or a scout from Watford who will be at the that game, wherever that's played. I don't know if that is played. Actually, I was just about to ask the question and find out for you, Joe, about your question. And I will find that in short order, the answer pretty darn soon. Luton's next game is against Plymouth. They will be home to Plymouth on Wednesday, Joe. But Tracy, thank you for the comment. Luton will host Plymouth. That's at the Kenny. That's the dog kennel. They'll be at the Dogs Kennel on a Wednesday night against Plymouth. Whoa, that's a game. See, this is why this is important. There will definitely be some Watford personnel, whether it's Tom Cleverley himself, whether it's some of the other coaching staff at Watford, whether it's some scouts, whatever, watching that game against Plymouth on Wednesday night. And that's a massive game for both them teams. Those are the bottom two teams in the table, I think, last time I looked. That's a massive, massive game. Hello, Harry. Hello, and thank you. It's nice to see you on Instagram. And thank you for joining us. Those are the bottom two teams in the table. And as Tracy points out, and I mentioned this just before Tracy did, it's Luton against Plymouth, and it is at Kenilworth Road, as Tracy has just reminded us. And that's a massive game for them. You know, Luton played two very, hate to mention their name, but that lot up the road played two massive games at home in a 5-day stretch. Those are going to be two very emotional games. And that game is like a cup final. They're going to play that lot up the road. They're going to play two cup finals in 5 days. Both of them at their actually, excuse me, like I stand corrected. I said both of them are at Kenilworth Road. They are not. Obviously, the game on Wednesday is, but the game on Sunday is at our place here at the Vic. And Matthew WFC, thank you for joining us on Instagram. Those are two massive games for them. Massive games for that lot up the road. They've got a lot of pressure on them. They're rock bottom. They've lost 4 of their last 6. These are two massive games for them. And that emotional energy, that energy expended against Plymouth Argyle on Wednesday, I think will be a factor for this game coming up on Sunday next, a week from tomorrow. So, yeah, that and I'm glad that you mentioned this, Tracy, that they are playing midweek. That's a very important point because they will come in less well rested, and they will come in. Perhaps they may have injuries. They may not have injuries. Sissoko got taken off for us today. I don't know if that was because he was injured or if because the manager said, well, we just need to take him out. He's played during the middle of the week against Leeds. We'll take him out. And the bottom line is he didn't appear to be injured, but you never know with these things. But that lot up the road, they're going to be giving a lot in the game against Plymouth. And that might take something out of them for the game against us. Now, not like they'll need any motivation to come to Vicarage Road and do well. Trust me, even if they are tired against Plymouth and they come in to play us, they don't need any motivating, especially coming into our place. They're going to be very motivated to play the game. But Watford have to be even more so. But that is an important fact about the fact that Luton do play that game on Wednesday. That's an extra game. That's their game in hand. And they will be looking to win that game. They absolutely will. Even if they do win that game, they'll still be in the bottom 3. If Plymouth win that game, they will be out of the bottom 3. That's a very important game now for them. Very, very important. So thank you for that, Tracy. And indeed, as she reminds us, it is at Kenilworth Road, that game against Plymouth on Wednesday night. So Tom Cleverley, ole, ole. Tom Cleverley, very good job there, Matt. WFC on Instagram. Thank you, Matthew, for that. Yep, you heard that chant all throughout the game at the Riverside. Middlesbrough fans did not say very much, did they? They were sitting on their hands. I think they were most vocal at the booing. That's when you heard Middlesbrough fans today. They booed their lot. Michael Carrick could be in some trouble. And Michael Carrick's a good manager. He was a good player, good midfield player for both Spurs and Manchester United back in the day. But he's been a good manager for them, but lately he hasn't. And people don't care about how good a manager you are. It's what have you done for me lately? And the results have not shown very much in the way of positives for Middlesbrough. And you never know. We've seen managers get sacked at any point of the season. And, Middlesbrough have continued a downward spiral. They are behind us now in the table. They've lost 3 in a row. So that's where Middlesbrough are in the table. Watford In 10th, let me remind you, 33 games played, 13 wins, 6 draws, 14 defeats, a -5 goal difference on 45 points. If we win the game against that lot up the road, we could get as close as 7th because our goal difference is not strong enough to get to West Bromwich Albion, unless, of course, we are able to really smash this lot week from tomorrow. But let me read out some more of your comments. Matthew says on Instagram, Watford must win next Sunday. I say we will win 5-0. That's the bold prediction from Matthew WFC on Instagram. We need to smash this lot, Matt. Before you came into the building, we were talking about here on both Instagram and on YouTube that Watford need to win the game, but we need to really beat them emphatically. We need to leave no doubt. I mean, look, if we ended up winning the game 1-0 next Sunday, a week from tomorrow, I'd be very pleased with that. But we need to really lay it on them. They are low on confidence. They have dropped like a rock, like a complete stone down the championship, like you just drop a stone into the sea and it just sinks to the bottom. And that's what Luton have done. And so, as you said, Matt, we've got no choice. We have to beat them and beat them soundly. I agree with you 1,000%, mate. We've got to lay the hammer down on them. We need to absolutely hammer the Hatters next Sunday a week from tomorrow. Critical that we do that at the Vic, because that would be a way to end the 5-game losing streak at the Vic. That would be the way to build some confidence. If we can get 2 wins in a row, that will do something for these lads. But as I said, Matt, before you came into the room, we've got to look at this game as a unique game. It's a game that is really apart from any of the games we've played. And Tom Cleverley will have to draw that into these lads, that our fans will demand nothing less than a win against this lot up the road next Sunday, from tomorrow. We will demand nothing less. And so they have to understand, as numerous people have said today, Tracy and other people I can think of, that this means so much. Tracy was the one that said this specifically, that this means so much to the Watford fan base. You cannot rock up there a week from tomorrow with a poor performance, not like the one you had October at the doggy kennel against that lot. You have to up your game. You played well against Sunderland. You played well against Middlesbrough. You have to play 10 times better than that against this lot to soundly beat them. Matthew's talking 5-0. You have to beat them soundly. You know, if you can get a 4 or 5 or a 6 on them, great. But be aware that we don't play great football. We put it this way: we don't do particularly well against teams in the bottom 3 or in the bottom 6. We've lost a lot of games to teams in the bottom 6. So I would caution this idea that we're going to automatically win. I think we will win the game next week, but be careful. Be careful. Because this game today was very good for us. It was a good bounce back after Leeds. I think it was a very good bounce back. But we have to understand that game to game, consistency is going to be very important. And these lads have got to treat this game like a cup final. Matt, I appreciate your comment there on Instagram. Let's go back to YouTube. We've got some more comments here, or maybe we don't. No more. We don't have a few more. I'm going to wind things down here now. I think we've pretty much squeezed the juice out of the game against Middlesbrough, and of course the game against Luton that we're playing. Of course, that lot up the road on a week from tomorrow. Yeah, they've got an extra game to play, don't they? They've got that game again. They've got the game against Plymouth. That's kind of mad. What kind of game is that going to be? I actually will watch that game. It will be shown here in the United States. Just took a look at the schedule. It's going to be shown here. You gotta watch that game. I know that who wants to watch that lot up the road? I'm just watching the game from a footballing point of view of 2 teams scrapping at the bottom of the championship, and also seeing what we're looking at in that lot up the road. That's going to be an incredible game to watch, and I really would like to see how these 2 teams approach that. Plymouth have beaten Liverpool already this season. I know Liverpool played their, 3rd stringers pretty much. But I think that's going to help Plymouth. We'll see how this lot do against Plymouth. But I just can't imagine that's going to be a fascinating game. Anyway, Ryan says, "Hi Omar, what do you think the score will be next Sunday?" That is a very good question from Ryan on YouTube. I'll tell you what. I think it's going to be Watford 3, Luton Town 2. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game that Watford will win. So I'm going with Watford 3, Luton 2 in that game a week from tomorrow. So a close run thing, and there will be some goals in it. But I think it's going to be a close game. So that's my verdict on that. That's what I say now, a week or so out. Thank you very much, Ryan, on YouTube for your comment. And on Instagram, WFC Life has joined us all. Thank you, WFC Life. Hello to you. Good to see you aboard here on the edition here of Orns Extra on Instagram Live. We've been here actually for about an hour now, roughly. And also on YouTube, we've been on for a bit longer than that on the post-match. Matt says we've got to go out there on YouTube. He says this. Matt, we've got to go out there on Sunday like crazy, stinging hornets. Yes, indeed we do. Matt on YouTube, thank you for your comment. We have to. I think it's going to be a close game, actually. But I could be wrong. Maybe if you ask me the question again after Luton versus Plymouth on Wednesday night, I might give you a different answer. But Watford are going to be well rested, but that can be a trap as well because you can be too well rested. I mean, they'll have 9 days, if you include today, 9 days between this game. Actually, 9 days if you don't include today. 9 days between this game and the next one, or 9 days including the next game. I mean, 9 days between games. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. I mean, I think it's time that Watford would welcome because we've played a lot of games. We played 33 of these. We had 3 games in a week. The early morning kickoff last week against the early afternoon kickoff against Sunderland. The game, of course, in midweek against Leeds, and of course this game. So we've had 3 games inside of 7 days. That's a lot of running about. So they would welcome this little break, but it's not going to be really a break because Watford are going to be training all week, watching film. They'll be doing recovery, doing conditioning. But we do have to come across and really tank this lot. We have to tank this lot. I'll never forget it. I'll say this again. Some Luton fan after the game back in October said, "Oh, we're going to finish higher in the table than you will." Ha ha ha, he said to me. And I didn't say anything to him because I know better than to chirp in October when you still got another, 7 more months of the season? You still got 7 more months of football. You never celebrate in October when you've got 7 more months of football to play. Come on. But yeah, I get it. You get excited because you beat us in October, fine. But to say that you're going to finish above us in the table, that's not happening. You lot aren't going to finish in the table the way you're playing. So we cannot afford to lose a game against this lot. Cannot afford that. We got to get that win next week, Matt, on all counts, 100%. I want to thank you all for listening. Again, the final score today was Middlesbrough 0, Watford 1. My summary of the game, Watford were committed from the start. They played very well up and down the pitch, very careful in the possession, useful in the possession, were really creative in the possession. They did a lot more with what they had. If you look at the stats for this game, let me just read those finally. Cheers, says Joe Larkin. Thank you very much indeed, Joe. If you really look at how Watford shook out with this game, and they did very well, I think. Just looking at what they did, if you look at these scores from earlier today, they were Watford with the stats that they put forth in the game against Middlesbrough. Quite interesting to me as far as the stats are concerned. Watford had only 42% of the possession towards Middlesbrough's 58. We had a lot more shots on target, however, which I think is a really good thing. I think when you look at the shots on target, it tells a story. We created a lot more opportunities than they did. And I'll tell you that 14 shots total, 6 on target. 14 total shots for Watford to Middlesbrough's 13. Well, We won that battle. 5 shots on target for Middlesbrough, 6 shots on target for us. And again, because we created more, we kept going. If you put the ball in the box, you create chances. You know, if you stop and let your man beat you and you don't try to run past your man, if you don't try to progress down the pitch, you're not going to create them chances. And so we dominated them on shots, beat them on shots, beat them on shots on target. They had 5 goalkeeper saves to make. We had 5 as well. It was a lively game in the second half. The game was really lively second half. 5 corners to their 8. Those are some of the important stats I think you take out of this game. Watford in 10th, sitting nicely on 45 points. Again, our goal difference is -5 now. A clean sheet, very important. That's going to give you some confidence if you're defense. But that is really it. And that's all for now on this edition of Orns Post Match. On Instagram, Orns Extra on Instagram Live comes to a close as well. It's been a great pleasure to have you all here. My name is Omar. You can find me on X at WFC, on Instagram at WFC. And please don't forget to subscribe to the WFC YouTube channel. I'll put some videos up. I know it's been a while. I've actually had 2 or 3 videos that I've done that I've not even had the time to post yet. So some of them will be belated from back in the Coventry game. I will do that. And I do promise to do that certainly this weekend. And a podcast episode is definitely coming after a few weeks away from that as well. As for the weather, Ryan on YouTube asks, how is the weather here in San Francisco? It is sunny. Actually, a bit of cloud at the minute. But we do have some sun coming. There was some sun earlier. The sun is still poking out now. It was sunnier earlier on. It's going to be in the high 50s today. We might get to 60 in San Francisco, but the weather is good. It's 60 degrees Fahrenheit, but the weather is good. It's going to probably be around the lower, maybe 57, 58, but it might creep up a bit more. But the weather here is good after a few days of rain. We had a fairly dry, mostly dry day yesterday, and today the sun is poking out, and you can see a bit of the blue sky here in town. The All-Star game is here, as I said earlier. The NBA All-Star game will be played tomorrow. All-Star weekend descends upon us here in San Francisco, California. We had the Legends game in the NBA yesterday and some other games yesterday. The Rising Stars game today is the best day of the 3 for the All-Star weekend, because we're going to have the 3-point contest, we're going to have the slam dunk contest, and we're going to have the skills competition. To me, those are the best competitions and the best day if you're here for NBA All-Star Weekend. The world descends upon San Francisco this weekend, and Watford World continues to sing well and truly loudly after Middlesbrough 0, Watford 1. It's great, again, to have you here. We'll be back next time around on Sunday, of course, February the 23rd, 2025, of course, after the game between that lot up the road and us, the mighty Watford, at the Vic. Of course. Thank you, says Matt. Thank you, Omar, for a great chat after the game and a great away win. Thank you very much, Matt, for your kind words. I appreciate you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, everybody, for your comments here. All of you who've commented on both Instagram and on YouTube. Have a great weekend, Omar, says Ryan. You too, Ryan. Thank you for that. Have a great weekend as well, and enjoy. A great pleasure as well to have you aboard. Thank you for your comments. And to everyone here on both Instagram and YouTube, my name is Omar. And until Sunday next, a week from tomorrow, take care, be well, and see you a week from tomorrow.